Okay, this is a quick video here. We're just going to do a horse comparison. There's some conversation about which horse has the best stats, and I thought it would be something better than Pebbles, but what I'm seeing in the game after 220 hours of gameplay is it's actually Pebbles, and that's assuming you put all the top end gear on your horse. So let me show you what Pebbles has for stats. Courage of 30, capacity 588, stamina 198, and speed of 40. Now, these include the Kirkawian saddle, nobleman's horseshoes, a tournament caparison quilted, which is something that bumps the capacity up a little bit even, and the Tyrolean chanfront, which is the headpiece for the horse here. If I take these off, just so you can see what the capacity is, courage 12, stamina 127, capacity 138, and speed 30. So looking at this, it does not look like Pebbles should be the best horse, right? But again, let me put this stuff on. And it looks like the capacity hasn't been updated. You can see it on the left, though. It is 588. We close that out. Let's see if it updates now. Yeah, there we go. So it's 588. And the courage is at 30, speed's at 40, stamina is at 198. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to buy the horse in the game that has the highest capacity according to Inara. Here's Inara. You can see the horses are listed by order and capacity. You can see Pebbles with a perk is listed as 338. And that Erdel is 368. So Erdel's actually more capacity than Pebbles. Now, Erdel has less stamina, which is a minus, but maybe one we can live with. It has a slightly slower speed than Pebbles, but it has more courage by default than Pebbles does, even with the perk state. So you're giving up some stamina, you're giving up some speed going off of Pebbles onto Erdel. Right? So let's go ahead and do that, and you'll see what the differences are. I'm actually gonna, oops, let me save this just so I also have a version to reference back. There we go. There's Pebbles. Okay. So let's get out of here. Let's look at Erdel, which I think is a black horse. Yeah, there's Erdel. So there's the stats that it's telling me. So Pebbles is saying is at 388, stamina 198, speed 40, courage 12. So these are the base specs. So that's before adding in the saddle and all the other stuff. And Erdel is showing speed being faster and courage being quite a bit higher, but still with a very good capacity, although less capacity than Pebbles. Now, let me turn off. Yeah, I guess I should have turned this off right away. There you go, so you guys can see it. So I'm looking at Erdel. There's Pebbles stats and Erdel stats. And the Pebbles stats does not take into account the saddle. Okay, so Erdel's more courage, better speed, with almost the same capacity, and but we know it's going to have a deficiency on stamina. Okay, so let me close this out again, just for reference sake. One more time. This is Pebbles with the multipliers from the gear: 588, 30, 40, 198. We're going to go and buy Erdel. As soon as we find the guy. There he is.
What do you need?
New horse.
Do you sell horse?
Aye, and I also pick a horse.
Did you say you...
As long as it... And do know, I hope well.
Of course.
So?
Erdel. Pay 38.20.
I'll take Erdel. I like him a lot. I've got...
That's the way I... There. Come on.
Okay. So we pick up Erdel. And I took a screenshot of the stats for Pebbles beforehand.
Good day.
First thing we're going to do, well, I guess I didn't need to mount them. First thing we're going to do is put on all the stuff, starting with the saddle, which is should be in my character. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so we're going to move that. No, actually, I had a black saddle. So is that on the horse already? Let's look. Yeah, it is on him already. Okay, so we just have to make him wear it. Horseshoes, same quilted tournament caparison, and the Turion Shanfur. There we go. So now he's dressed exactly like Pebbles was dressed, right? Okay. So you can see his specs. In fact, let me just get out just to make sure that there isn't a delayed information bug here. So let me look again. Okay, there's his specs. Speed's 32, stamina is 127, capacity 588, courage is 30, right? You guys see all that. Okay, now I'm going to share the screen that has the screenshot of what Pebbles had. Hang on, let me do that. I think it's this one. There we go. So there's Pebbles wearing the exact same gear as Erdel, which is the highest capacity horse in the game. What do you see? Courage 30, courage 30. Capacity 588, capacity 588. Stamina on Pebbles 198, stamina on Erdel 127. Speed on Pebbles 40, speed on Erdel 32. Which one of those is a better horse? Same capacity, same courage, but Erdel has worse speed and stamina. Okay? And if I flip back to a list of all the horses, so this is in Inara. If you guys don't use Inara, you should. I've been using it for Elite Dangerous forever. It has specs for 4 different games where you can look up pretty much anything. So in here, you can see that Erdel has the highest capacity listed at 368. Pebbles is supposed to have 338. But once you put the top end gear on both horses, you can see that their capacity is exactly the same. Now, if we look at courage here, Pebbles is supposed to have 27 courage to Erdel's 30. Again, with the gear, you can see that they both have a courage of 30. All right. And what's the other difference? Speed. Now, this is which makes no sense to me. Erdel is rated for 48 for speed, quite a bit faster, or actually, no, that is still slower than Pebbles. Okay, so Pebbles is 55 is its rating with the perk. Erdel has 48, so I guess that does make sense. Because with the gear, which does slow the horse down, let me switch that window again. You can see that Pebbles' speed is 40, and I guess that's down from 55. And Erdel's speed is 32, quite a bit slower than Pebbles, but that's down from 48. So pre-putting on the gear, it looks like the difference in speed is supposed to be only, what is it, 55 to 48, so 7. And it looks like the difference in speed with the gear is actually 8. So the difference became worse. So this is my point, is that using the highest end gear on the horses, the specs don't carry through the same way that they do if you're just looking at the horses with no gear. So if I take all this stuff off, let me take all the rest of it off as well. If I take all this off, then Erdel may very well look like it's a better horse, because it does say 368 for capacity, so it looks like it's a better horse than Pebbles, right? So I took all this stuff off. You can see the comparison on the bottom and the top. However, I don't ride the horse with no gear. I'm not going to be using him this way, so I don't really care what his specs are with 0 gear. They're kind of irrelevant. And they're especially irrelevant because they don't rank up exactly the same way in percentages once you put the gear on. And once you do put that gear on, as I'm doing right now, you can see that his specs are actually worse compared to Pebbles in 2 categories, and they're identical specs in 2 other categories. Now, somebody else mentioned Meadow. If we go over here and we look at Meadow, which is this horse right here, we can see that its speed is actually slower than Erdel. Sorry, not its speed. Its capacity is lower, right? So lower capacity than Erdel. Its speed is higher than Erdel, but less than Pebbles with a perk. Its courage is 17, which is lower than both Erdel and lower than Pebbles with a perk. So, relatively speaking, it is a worse horse than Erdel, which is the one we just compared, except for in the category of speed. Everything else is going to be, well, I guess stamina is better on it as well. So stamina is better and speed is better. Capacity and courage are worse than Erdel. But the speed is still worse than Pebbles, and the stamina is just slightly better than Pebbles. So what I'm going to do is go over and try and find where Meadow is, buy Meadow or catch Meadow or whatever you're supposed to do with Meadow, and then put on the same gear in Meadow and see what that looks like. Because ultimately, it doesn't matter what the horses are in their stats when they're not wearing the gear. What matters is how they compare when they're fully dressed up. Okay, and I have just bought Meadow, or I've stolen Meadow and then paid to get him trained. So here is Meadow. Let's look at the initial specs. 19, 358, 30, 17. So already slower speed and less courage than Pebbles. But let's get them mounted up, because what matters is, again, I meant to hit this, not mount. Okay. A horse, put on the saddle. Those horseshoes, throw in. Okay. So all the same stuff that we had on Pebbles. Now, let's get off of him and hit I again in case there's any kind of delay there. And what do we have? 26. Oh, sorry, guys. I was covering that up. There we go. So, yeah, you didn't see the whole part of me buying him, I guess. Here is Meadow. I bought him, or I stole him. Then I paid these guys to make him mine. And I just put... I keep hitting the wrong key. I just put all the same gear on him that I had on Pebbles and that I had on Erdel. Okay? Same exact stuff. Here are the specs. 30, 588, 206, and 37. Now, let's compare that to Pebbles. So, this horse has a courage of 30. Meadow. Pebbles has a courage of 30. This horse has a capacity of 588. Pebbles has a capacity of 588. This horse has a stamina of 206. That's better than Pebbles. Pebbles has 198. But this horse is running at 37. Pebbles is running at 40. So you could argue that the 7 or 8 extra points of stamina are worth having. I will take the 3 extra speed over the 8 extra stamina any day. I don't know about you guys, but once you're ranked up to level 30, your horse stamina, not even at 30, at like level 15 even, your horse stamina just never goes to 0. I can ride across the map and it's still within the stamina range. So stamina, yes, it is higher on Meadow. Is it as important as speed? No, it's not. The good news is both courage and capacity are maxed out at 30 and 588. Now, what about the compared to Erdel, which is ranked as the highest ranked horse? I wonder if I can switch to that or not. I may not be able to. Shoot. Okay. I know what I can do. I can cheat. So I did a save of Erdel. And let me see if we'll do it now. That's Pebbles. That's still Pebbles. Shoot. It's only doing Pebbles. Oh, I know what I can do. Okay. So I can show them all actually at the same time. I'm going to switch to this and turn that off, and then turn that off, and then I can drag Erdel over here and Pebbles over here. So there's all three of the horses. So you can compare Erdel, Pebbles, and Meadow. So which horse would you rather ride? I mean, it looks like Erdel, who's supposed to be the top rated horse, loses to both of these horses once you gear them up. Pebbles is slightly less stamina, but more speed. And Meadow is slightly more stamina, but less speed. And out of the three of these, which are pretty much the best three in the game, I would definitely still take Pebbles. So I will stick to my argument that Pebbles has the fastest, or not the fastest speed. There are faster horses, to be sure. But you're going to give up a lot of other things if you want to run those even faster horses than Pebbles. The good news for the other two horses is you're not really missing out on capacity versus Pebbles. You're still going to hit, and it looks like 588 might very well be the max limit in game that you just simply can't go beyond, because all three of these horses have slightly different capacities by default, but when you gear them up, they all end up being 588. So, all right. So there you go, guys. This is the conversation back and forth. I figured it's worth making a video and doing an actual test.